Hey everybody, Jimmy here with the Triple C Collective on Movie Monday. Today's Movie Monday review is the documentary Clerk. It chronicles the life of Kevin Smith from New Jersey native to filmmaker, and to where he is currently. Basically, it was a really great documentary. Just before we dive into it, it was really great. I really enjoyed it. I'm also a huge Kevin Smith fan, so that like this movie was like made for me. Clerk tells the story of Kevin Smith going up to making, and it's actually really great. It shows some really great like old home footage of like Kevin talking to a camera, talking to his parents, being like, "I'm gonna go to film school. I'm gonna make you guys proud," and stuff. Which is really funny because like he went to film school. He drops out. It's all chronicled in Clerk here at the beginning of it. He goes to film school. He meets Scott Mosier, Dave Klein. He decides to drop out of film school, take the leftover money, and then put it towards making Clerk. And then he just maxes out a bunch of credit cards and stuff like that. And they make Clerks. They sell it at Sundance to the Weinstein Company. Kevin asks his lawyer before they sign the whole deal for Clerks and everything if Kevin can retain the rights to like Jay and Silent Bob, and they do that, and that's helped him ever since. Best decision he's ever made, by leaps and bounds. Look at that. There's an entire brand off that. It's great, and so it chronicles like Clerk, Sundance, them selling Clerks at Sundance, and then getting Mallrats basically right away with Jim Jacks. Mallrats not doing very well at the box office, and like like all the people that loved Clerks like basically hated Mallrats, like all of these like weird critics and stuff. But like Mallrats ended up being a huge cult classic. Like I love all of Kevin Smith's movies, but Mullets is really good. That's a like I don't know, that was a real I hung out at a mall, so like that movie like really spoke to me like when I saw it then, and like even when I see it now and I reflect on like I don't know, my teenage years and stuff like that. So like I don't know. Mallrats is great. I am sorry it just never hit the audience that it did. But again, after that, Mallrats not doing well, him keeping the characters of Jay and Silent Bob, and then like after Mallrats, like they're interviewing with like Scott Mosier, and he's like, I want to do more. I didn't feel like he did anything. Then Kevin meets with John Pearson and Miramax and gets the budget for Chasing Amy at $250,000 as opposed to like the 1.2 million. You guys might hear my daughter just whining from her room. She should be napping right now, so if you hear a little baby going wah, that's my daughter not going to or not napping right now, so sorry. um, and so Kevin goes to John Pearson and Miramax. They cut the budget from like 1 million to like $250,000. Scott Mosier has to figure it out, but like in the documentary, everybody says Scott Mosier himself included, like for Scott wanting to be like the producer, like making things happen, like he had to make he had to be a part of Mallrats in order to make Chasing Amy, so that he could become the next step in like what he wanted for himself. Scott said, like, which was really cool. Like it was neat little stuff like that gave different insights to not only just like Kevin's life, but like the people around him and everything like that. And it was really great. So like Chasing Amy does really well. Gets him like the accolades, goes back to Sundance and all of that, and then after that they make Dogma. And Dogma is a movie that makes everybody mad. Like they say that. I think it was the Catholic League maybe that comes after them pretty hard for that movie. Um, I don't know. I love Dogma. Personally, I think Dogma might be Kevin Smith's like might be his smartest movie. Could be his funniest movie. Um, I don't know. Red State is also really good too. So is Chasing Amy. Again, they're all good. I love all of his movies, but Clerks 2 is my favorite by leaps and bounds because it made me want to like tell stories and like be creative and stuff like that. But I love your whole filmography there, Kevin. Um, and so then they do Chasing Amy. It does really good. It goes to Sundance. Shortly thereafter that, they Kevin and Scott help produce Goodwill Hunting. Ben Affleck and like Matt Damon's Oscar-winning script, and like so like that's really cool. Then they do Dogma together shortly after that, and everybody is mad at them or mad at Kevin, I guess, for making that movie. But Dogma's really great. It's really fun. You can't really find it. It's kind of tough. Um, if you're that Kevin Smith Club member, it's a perk. You can watch it. And yeah, I don't know why. Like, and actually, Kevin talked about it in the Q&A for in the Q&A after the viewing of Clerk. He said that he put in a bid to buy it. It wasn't necessarily like a super high bid, but they put in a bid to buy it, because the question is like it's completely owned by Harvey Weinstein. So the question is, do we give that dude more money who hurt a bunch of people, to own this movie of ours outright again, or do we let him own it and do whatever he wants with it? And like it was weird. It was a weird balancing thing, but he put out an offer and they got turned down, saying, or from like whoever, I guess of like Harvey's people, saying that Harvey was already taking an offer from somebody else, or like in deep talks, I guess, like that or whatever. So that's a shame, but I would like to see Kevin Smith get Dogma back. That would be great. I would like to be able to own Dogma on Blu-ray. That would be cool. Um, but after that, they go Dogma. They have all of the religious hate. Like Kevin makes a joke that he's like, "I'm going to make a movie that no one could possibly hate. It talks about all the other movies before him," and then he makes Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. And it's true. That's another movie that's really just really freaking funny. I absolutely love Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. I also love Reboot. Reboot is also really great as well. But so that he specifically tries to make that movie so that like nobody like can get mad or hates him. It's just like silly fun, and that's really what Jay and Silent Bob is. It's really silly fun, silly dumb jokes, but they're like great. It's really awesome. I love it. It's one of my favorites. They move on from Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Him, Ben Affleck, George Carlin get together again. Jennifer Lopez for Jersey Girl, and they have all of the Bennifer or whatever backlash at the time, and it doesn't necessarily do super well. So then after Jersey Girl, Kevin talks to Scott Mosier and is like, I think I want to go back to the well. I think I want to do a Clerks 2. And that I will always love them doing, because that is by far my favorite movie of Clerks. And of the Clerk series, I mean, of one or two, I mean, three will be seen in 2022. And hopefully. And but Clerks 2 is a very special movie. I love that movie so much. And so he goes back to the well. He does Clerks 2. I loved it. I know it didn't do gangbusters at the like box office and stuff, but I really loved it. Then they do Zack and Miri, which I find to be absolutely very funny. I also really love the poster that is just a stick figure poster saying that they made that Seth Rogen and Elizabeth Banks made a movie so titillating they can only show you this drawing. Hilarious, hilarious. Um, and I'm just laughing thinking about that right now. So then they make Zack and Miri. That doesn't, do that well, but like I don't know, dude. Like I love Zack and Miri. Zack and Miri is very funny. It has a wonderful cast. It has Seth Rogen, I find very funny, but it also has Elizabeth Banks in it, who I just love. I also love that it has Jeff Anderson in it in a non-Randall role in like the View universe and stuff like that. So I really like that. I like. I love Brandon Routh and Justin Long's characters. Um, but Justin Long like steals that movie for me in a lot of ways. He's so funny. He's so freaking funny. And that same character kind of shows up in Reboot. They just don't necessarily acknowledge it a whole bunch, but it's the same character. Um, but they do Zack and Miri Make a Porno, which is a fantastic movie with Seth Rogen and Elizabeth Banks in the leads, Jason Mewes and Jeff Anderson in some supporting roles, Justin Long in a cameo, and it's also got Craig Robinson in it in a supporting role as well. Craig Robinson, hilarious, amazing, fantastic. He is. He might be the funniest person in that movie, but I don't necessarily know if that is 100% true or not. So then they move from Zack and Miri, and then like right before Zack and Miri, Scott Mosier and Kevin Smith made Modcast, and after Zack and Miri, Scott decides to leave and not be a producer with Kevin anymore. He kind of wants to do his own thing. Scott Mosier ends up writing some scripts for I know the Ultimate Spider-Man TV series that ran on like the Disney Channel or Disney XD or something like that. He wrote that for a little bit. I think he did an animated movie. He did the animated Grinch movie with Benedict Cumberbatch as the voice of the Grinch, which made gangbusters. So good for you, Scott. Well done. Scott Mosier just recently signed on to do a new movie, to direct it, I believe himself. So it was exciting to see Smodcast, like Kevin Smith's like podcasting empire that he started doing. That was really great. Then they talk about Cop Out and Bruce Willis. Those were dark times. But he also talks about the rest of they also move into like the podcasting, like doing what is now like Fat Man on Batman, that is now like Fat Man Beyond. Tell 'em Steve Dave, which started out on on the Smodco podcast network, but is like now spun off on their own, and eventually got Comic Book Men, and they talk about Comic Book Men, which is a show that I really love. I actually was able to go to the Secret Stash recently, met Sunday Jeff and Mike Zapsik there. Great guys, wonderful people. The Secret Stash it's the new Secret Stash. I didn't get to go to the one that's actually probably the one that's actually featured in Comic Book Men. They are no longer at that location. They're at a new location, still in Red Bank, New Jersey, just at a new location. And so they talk about all of that. Then they talk about Kevin's like change in movies after Cop Out, the bad experience with Willis. He kind of is like, I'm done making movies. Then they finally decide to make Red State. He decides to make Red State. They get that made. He works with John Goodman, and Red State is a great movie. If you have not seen Red State, check it out. It is so different than anything Kevin's ever done. In anything he's ever done, it's the most different thing he's ever done. Um, Red State is amazing. That's the first time he works with Michael Parks. Before Michael Parks passed, R.I.P. We miss you. Um, Great actor. He's great. Red State can't talk about it enough. It's really excellent. It's a really fantastic movie, and it is a great like thriller. It's probably the best way to describe Red State. Great thriller. Wouldn't have expect that from Kevin Smith. But it's such a turn, kind of like Chasing Amy, such a turn from like Clerks and Mallrats, and then he just like kind of does an about face, does a great change. Chasing Amy kind of has something, kind of has that different, like way different kind of style, taste, whatever you want to call it, of what you know of Kevin, the same way that Red State does, and Red State's great. Then he follows Red State up after talking on an episode of Smodcast 259, The Walrus and the Carpenter, of Scott Mosier, because despite Scott no longer being a producing partner with Kevin on his movies, Scott and Kevin still do Smodcast together, which is their podcast. So like on one of those episodes, they read some letter, some random posting that they found on the internet about some dude looking for a lodger, and really it's a great way of, if you've never understood how the idea for a story can come from like basically anything, like it's a really great example of seeing like two friends just spitballing ideas back and forth from each other, and how eventually you can like make a story of like some stuff like that. And as they're talking, they decide to make as they're talking back and forth, Scott and Kevin, about certain things that they would have to see and like want to see, like it just comes to, it basically was writing itself as a horror film. And then you get from that episode, again, Smodcast 259, Walrus and the Carpenter, you get what Kevin eventually wrote as a script of Tusk. And Tusk is a creature feature, with a walrus, and oh man, it is great. Tusk is awesome. Tusk is in that same realm of Red State, in that it is something completely different that you would not expect from Kevin Smith at all. Then he moves on from Tusk. He does another a movie where he doesn't necessarily give, but he writes a movie for his daughter Harley Quinn Smith and her friend Lily Rose Depp, and it's Yoga Hosers, which I also find to be a very funny movie. A lot of Yoga Hosers catches some hate, but that's fine, whatever. I really like it. I think it's I don't know. I also have a daughter, so I'm hoping that I might be able to show that to her to kind of get her into liking Kevin Smith and like the different movies and stuff that he does. So this moves on from like Yoga Hosers, and then finally ending with like they talk about Kevin Smith's heart attack. Obviously, they talk, Kevin makes the joke again that like part of like doing Jay and Silent Bob reboot is that he can't have his last movie being Yoga Hosers. He's got to end on something different. And so they talk about they talk about his heart attack, how he was, at the Alexis Theater, or at the Alex Theater, and he was doing his stand-up or taping of a show or whatever there, and yeah, that was scary. That was scary because I had, like, as selfish as this is, sorry, I hadn't had a chance, by the time Kevin Smith had his heart attack, I hadn't had a chance to meet the meet you yet, Kevin. I have since. Um, and so the I like I was really sad, obviously, just like so many other people, but I was really happy that like you survived, and then like you lost all. Then they talk about like his weight loss, and like they show like one of the other second best things about this whole movie is the interviews with all the different people they do with like they Joe Quesada, Scott Mosier. They talk uh, with Penn from Penn and Teller. Uh, they talk with Kevin's wife, Kevin's daughter, uh, his wife Jennifer Schwabach, his daughter Harley Quinn Smith. They talk with Jason Mewes, obviously. They talk with Walt Flanagan, Brian Johnson, Ben Affleck, uh, Joey Lauren Adams, and it's great. And Reboot, like they talk all about Reboot and how it was like trying to sum up everything and like put it all together and everything like that. Um, I loved Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. I am very excited for Clerks 3. Yeah, super exciting. It's going to be great. And Clerk, though, was excellent. I thought it did an excellent job of chronicling his whole life. Some random standout points I want to make. I loved that it talked about, like it gave, like in the beginning of it, they have Kevin talk about like his dad, and Kevin and his mom talk about his dad, and like they all kind of talk about his dad, his brother as well, saying how like Kevin's dad always used to take him to the movies and stuff. And if you've listened to his podcast, it's definitely something he's mentioned before. So it was really cool that they included that. I thought it was very interesting that they included the stuff about like Harvey Weinstein and all of that. Not saying that it needed to be ignored, but I didn't know, like because Harvey Weinstein financed most of Kevin Smith's like early movies. Either by Miramax or the Weinstein Company, and like by buying them or whatever. As we said earlier, like he outright owns Dogma. So, and then, but I mean, it also talks about like Harvey Weinstein, all of his terrible, terrible, awful things that he did to innocent women that should never have been. None of that stuff ever should have happened to any of those women. He is a terrible, horrible, awful human being. And so like it talks about Kevin donating all of his like future royalties from those movies to like women in film and stuff, which is really great, and like that's awesome. It also talks about like a highlight of it is like Kevin talking about like his love of comics and stuff. They even interviewed Joe Quesada, one of the editors. I might be editor-in-chief over at Marvel right now, both on the comic side there. But like Joe Quesada drew Kevin Smith's Daredevil run of Marvel Knights, when they did that together and stuff. So they talk about that. Joe Quesada talks about how like Kevin Smith like writing for how Kevin Smith like writing Marvel comics like really helped them out in the 90s when Marvel needed, or like the like not the 90s, sorry, but like just helped like having a name, like a big name like Kevin Smith, a filmmaker guy writing Marvel comics and stuff. Like you said, it was a big thing. Like it really helped them out, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. I didn't necessarily know that. I've read Kevin Smith's like comics and like all of his all of that stuff. I really like all of them. And so like that was really cool. I really liked the different people that they interviewed. Ben Affleck's interview was really great in it. I really liked his family stuff. It was really it was really sweet, him talking about like his dad, his mom, his brother, his sister, and all of that stuff. Like that was really sweet, really hit you in the feels there. One of the things that actually like really surprised me, just because I didn't know necessarily when they started like to make this documentary or shoot it or anything like that, was actually when Stan Lee, they had some interview at some time of Stan Lee being interviewed for this as well, and that was really awesome, really great to see. It was something that I found pretty unexpected because I didn't know, like, again, I didn't know when they had started filming this, if Stan Lee was still alive or anything like that. So it was great to see that stuff included with it. Again, seeing, Mark Bernardin, another person that seeing interviewed was really great. His friends Vincent Pereira as well, included with like the guys that he grew up with, like Jason Mewes, Brian Johnson, Walt Flanagan. Maybe not grew up with, but knew in like high school and stuff. I don't know. I can whatever. But seeing all those interviews and stuff, they were all really great and amazing. Overall, I loved Clerk. I thought it did a great job chronicling like Kevin Smith's life, everything that he did, everything that's basically happened to him up until, Jay and Silent Bob reboot, because that's basically where this documentary ends. And like, I've got no complaints about it. As someone who loves Kevin Smith, I thought Malcolm Ingram did a great job, in this documentary, being thorough in this. About his life and everything like that. I don't know. I really liked it. I thought it was excellent. It's also sometimes weird seeing a documentary about somebody who is still alive, though he did have a near death experience. A near death experience with his heart attack. So like it's always weird seeing documentaries like that about people who are still alive and kicking it, especially now, like since like this, he's done like Masters of the Universe as well for Netflix. That is finally dropped. Like Clerks Clerks 3 has finished production and all of that stuff. So like he's still producing and stuff. So like that was always just really weird. But I don't know. I love this. I thought it was a great chronicling again of Kevin's life. I did see this, like I said, at Music Box Theater. Kevin did a 2-hour Q&A afterwards, which was great. Really informative, just really about his life. Malcolm Ingram couldn't make it to the Q&A afterwards. All I can say is that Music Box did a really great job of making me feel safe or whatever there in their theater and everything. So it was excellent. I loved Music Box. I loved seeing Clerk, the documentary about Kevin Smith's life there. I cannot wait for Clerks 3. I don't know if it's his next installment of the Clerks franchise, but it is really exciting. I cannot wait to see it in 2022. I will say that I have actually already seen Clerks 3, a cut of it at least, and I will tell you guys all about it in 2022 when I can. Otherwise, thank you for joining me on this Movie Monday review. You guys have a great day.